Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Radiant Light. It's Sunday, July 10th. I'm Reverend Cherie Ruffo, and we're continuing the 12 layers of the DNA series today. And today is layer 6, the higher self. And I'm excited to be back talking to you about the 12 layers of the DNA, the 6th layer. It's a really it's a layer that we're actually, as we get into it, we study a lot, we talk about a lot because it's the higher self. And we've been studying the 12 layers, taking based on the lessons from the Cryon book series, the 12 layers of the DNA, and also from Simone Matthews, she's my teacher in Australia, where I've been taking the Essence of Angels course, Electrician, and many courses from her, a lot of the information that she gives. So we're going to be looking today at the 6th layer, the higher self, but we're also matching it up with Archangel Zadkiel, and that is level 7, the throat chakra, which is a good one for me, right? Everyone who's been along this series knows that if one area that acts up a little bit for me is throat chakra. So as I talk about needing to do some work today, I'm talking to myself. So I hope that you'll enjoy this. It has there's a lot of elements to this message today that we can bring all together and help really just make our lives create a better life for ourselves. And when we do that, also we're talking about, as Candida was singing, still I rise, create a better life for the world, because we can use that right now. There's a lot going on. So we went through, as we've gone through the different layers, we went through 3 grounding layers, and now we're finishing the Lemurian layers, where we really looked at 4 and 5, were the first 2 in the Lemurian layers, were so big. They're the crystalline. That's the core part of us that is changing through this process as we're awakening these layers of the DNA and creating what we're looking at today, which is this connection, but it's not really the connection. We always are connected to our higher self, but it's our awareness that's growing with it. And as our awareness grows, our life changes, and it changes for the better. So what are we talking about when we're talking about that layer 6? When do you feel the creator inside? Think about that for a moment. When we feel that creator inside, that's when we realize that we have this connection to our higher self, that there's something different going on. And really, I like to say it's when I can hear that small, still voice that's never wrong. That small, still voice that when I can go quiet enough, will talk to me, will give me advice, and just really help me be more, as Joe said in the opening prayer, my true self, more of who I am. So we're going to talk about how do we get to that, because some people see glimpses in the lives. Some other people you talk to, they live that way. And most of us, I think, are somewhere in the middle. We'd like to have more of that connection, but things get kind of noisy, right? The most important aspect of layer 6 is that that higher self is never separate or apart from us. This is the God inside of us that we're talking about. This is what, in Genesis, which we read, you are made in the image and likeness of God, that this is the part of us that's the essence, that spark that's inside of us. And as we talk about it, it's in every cell of our bodies. And this is the God self. This is what makes us so different from what we believe that we are. We come in and a lot of us think that we're this, we're okay, we're having this human experience, and that's about it. And we never realize, we think small. We never realize how much more we are. This is it, guys. This is the big stuff. This is who we are. This is what we are. And, the Fillmores co-founded Unity on this principle, because they understood that there was so much more to the eye than what we appear. So when we begin to get really in touch with that part of our life, and when we really understand that what and who we are, things begin to change. And that's why we do things like the 4T class. Joe teaches these wonderful courses Community courses. We do the book studies. We pull back those layers on the esoterics. It's because there's a part of us that even if we're not fully aware of this, we understand who and what we are, that we're more, that there's so much more. So when we can do this, we can begin to realize and live from our center and our unity consciousness. That's what we're aiming for. And when we do that, we can reach out for that unity consciousness. How do we do that? That's what everybody says. They're great, you can talk about this, but how are we going to do this? And one of the things that we know, we're going to be talking about Archangel Zadkiel in a minute. We can get a lot of assistance from this archangel with this, because he is the one, or they're not he or she, but we will relate to them usually as one or the other. The one that can help us connect to that the most. So we call this the prayer and meditation layer. And in that, sorry, I had another slide, I guess I didn't make it in. It's 5 principles of unity that we always talk about. The first principle is that's we say God is everywhere present. So it relates back to the I am that we are. I am that I am. We know we're talking about the truth about who we are, that there is divine essence inside of us. But when we get to number 4, it's through prayer and meditation that we can really reach out and find that. And this is the essence of what this layer is all about. And we know in unity with prayer, we pray very differently than most of us grew up learning. Most of us grew up, we wanted something from God, so we would ask for it in prayer. But in unity, we see it right. We see it differently. When we pray for something, we say it and we affirm it and we see it and we believe it. And that is the amazing part of this, because we have that in our grasp. Already as Unity Truth students, we already know how to do this. And through meditation, we move to the place where we're really listening to God. So we can go into this silence, and that's, as we're coming out of that, is often through this period of realization where we understand, something that happened. We'll hear that still small voice that will give us an answer to something, that will, help us through a situation. Sometimes it's just peace that we're looking for, that we can find, but it's really important to find. So as we do that, as we can do that as Unity Truth students, we can find this peace that we're looking for. We think about that. When I was studying this week, I found this very profound, because this isn't something, as we sit here and we know that we already have this inside of us. We've been working and kind of pulling back the layers on this for so long. It's here. Now we just have to step fully into it. So when this layer 6, I looked up the numerology of the layer, so I always like to look a little bit into the science to see. And the number 6 is this layer is the energy of communication, balance, and harmony. So think about that, the higher self, communication. Do we have the balance and the harmony within? And we're going to talk about that more with Archangel Zadkiel. If we don't, we can help balance that. We can bring this more into our life. Are we using the tools? Our prayer and meditation, is that part of our language too? Because these are all things that'll just open us up more and more. So what really opens up the layer to the God self? Is it prayer? Is it meditation? No, but these are really important aspects. There's one thing, and if you've been following the series, it pops up more and more. There's only one thing. It's joy. You're like, wow, joy is in every aspect of this, in every aspect of awakening to who we really are, to what we are. And I'm not talking about the joy that we're going to get by turning on the news, because we're certainly not going to find it there, are we? No, it's just the inner joy. No matter what is happening in the world, if we can tune up that inner joy, then we're going to bring more of it into our lives. We're going to open ourselves up more to our higher self. And as we always talk about, when we do that, then we're giving back to the world, because, sorry, I'm just grabbing some water. We're giving back to the world, because at that point, that joy is shared in the oneness. So if we want to change the world, yes, we can go to rallies, and that's, it's important to, with our belief systems, but start here. Start in the inner work. Ask yourself, how much joy do I have? Because if we can start there, bring it out, and make it contagious, we can share it with the world, because we need it. And one of the things that we're going to really have to do with this layer 6, is we're moving into our higher self. If we really want to hear what's happening inside, and I know, because I get really busy, and what happens a lot of times, if there's a lot of fear or anger, a lot of things happening, it gets really noisy around us. So we lose touch with that inner self. We lose touch with being able to hear what that small, still voice is. So we have to kind of take a step back. It's really important now. Take a step back, try to bring that joy in. And I love how Joe talks about it, because he'll talk about the fact that if we go to gratitude, if we can get there, that's where we start. And that's true, because you can't be in gratitude and not feel joy. You can't be in gratitude and not and be mad. I mean, it would be really difficult. Maybe somebody could prove me wrong, but you're gonna have to work for that, guys. And is that really worth it? So move to that. And then we can start seeing things really change with this. What are some of the things that we can do? You guys can put it in the chat box. If you have good ideas on how to remove that anger, remove that fear from your life, you can start listing it in the chat box. Give everybody else ideas. You know, news, or how is your self-talk, or how is your talk to the world? Are we judging others? I think a lot of what our problem is that we're sitting in judgment most of the time. Are we self-loathing? You know, how do we feel about ourselves? To open all this up, we have to really reflect that. Lack of self-worth, or do we have self-worth? Remember what we did in layer 3, and that seems like ages ago. It was the action and ascension layer. We started looking at some of these and pulling these back. And if you're in 4T, we've been really doing some, doing a lot of inner work too, and looking at these layers. And in every single one of these things that we've talked about, the catalyst for change is always joy. It's the one thing that keeps appearing. Layer 3 is also, that we talked about a couple weeks ago when they were talking about joy, activates the chemistry for ascension. So we know that we're going to have to, if we're having trouble finding the joy, guys, I applaud Jesse and the whole crew that's working on the good news group, because that's what it's built for. It's built to bring us into a different place, to help our consciousness. And that's a great place to hang out. So how do we get more joy in our lives? How do we do it? How do we release the other stuff? I'm not seeing too many chat messages coming up, but if you've got ideas, I say share them with each other, put them in the chat box. I can hear Joe thinking right now, it's like, pray, meditate, number 4, the principles of unity. It's true. Take it to prayer too, if you're having a problem. Just hold it and see it right. One of the things I really enjoy, if there's something I would really love to have, I have almost as much fun doing the visualization process of it, because you have to feel how it feels to get something, have something. And that's a lot of fun to do. So, pick out something, or be outrageous, or go see a funny movie. What is it that moves you? And with meditation, I know a lot of you start your day with meditation, and that's a wonderful thing to do because you remind yourself, you become aware of that connection to the higher self that we have. So what we're talking about here is not bringing our higher self into our life. We're talking about raising our awareness for the higher self. And as we raise the awareness to our higher self, we bring more of that into our lives. And we allow ourselves to build a life based on that. It doesn't sound so hard, does it? Right. Until you live real life, right? And I know I'm getting a toddler back into my life when I get back from Italy. And as much as I love her, I have a lot more noise in my life with her because, she's 4 and she has needs and she has opinions now, lots of opinions. But I have to remember as part of working, as her being with Dan and I, we have to remember that it's important for her too, that she sees some of the things that we do. I've worked with small children in meditation, and we start with a minute and work towards it. And kids are great with that. They love that. They love that feeling. Other ways to bring more joy into our lives, we can sometimes just put our feet in the dirt. Unless it horrifies you, then just go to the beach, you put your feet in the sand, but make that connection with the earth. It's really important. And remember that one of the most profound sayings with this is I am that I am. That is one of the most profound sayings ever. I am that I am. We are identifying the fact that a piece of God, layer of God, essence of God, a spark of God, whatever it is that you like to call it, is within us. And how are we treating that spark and that essence? We can't be anything that we strive for until we recognize this. So we have to let's just take a moment and breathe that in. I am that I am. Because we ask the question, what does joy have to do with our sacredness? Absolutely everything. So if you're having problems with it, I'm going to give a commercial for the Good News group. Come to it. It's fun. Smiling. I think we're going to be, the group is so creative and always looking for new ways to make us smile and to make us feel hopeful. Enjoy that. Get in touch with that through prayer and meditation. And remember that this layer 6, this is our portal to our divinity. This is our sacred self. This is our I am layer. Some people say it's the pipeline to the other side of the veil. Because as we remember more of who we are and awaken, that veil is going to get thinner and thinner. And if we're looking for connection and how to make that work, we remember we have Archangel Zekiel. And Zekiel represents the throat chakra. And it's the words when you think of Zekiel is divine, word, compassion, and believe it or not, throat chakra silence. And we're going to show how that works. We have when we think as having our human experience, we'll have anywhere from 40 to 80,000 words per day. You may count you have more because you're prolific with words. That's great. But what I'd like to ask you is, what are the quality of your words? What's going through your mind? Are these positive words? Are they negative words? How is that? Because that's going to impact your life. How many of those words are love? How many of those words are critical of other people? So Archangel Zadkiel and this layer 6 is how we can work with this. We can change our words, this power of the spoken word, and become more compassionate beings. How are you loving yourself or other people? How do you speak to yourself? When you look in that mirror, what do you say? Have you practiced self-forgiveness? Because if your words are harsh, you need to take a closer look at that. And are you honoring your word, the divine word? One thing about Archangel Zadkiel that I saw a relationship with is about the honoring of this word, being true to it. And if you're a part of a group like AA, or Alcoholics Anonymous, or any of the other groups working with addiction, this is the perfect archangel. But it's also, even if you're dealing with addiction yourself, food, any of the other things, or maybe you're overworking, whatever it is, you know, Archangel Zadkiel can help with that, because it's all about overcoming this through and using the power of the spoken word to do that. So ask for help, get support if you need it. And with Zadkiel, when I was studying Archangel Zadkiel, they said the power for Zadkiel is the space in between the spaces. That's what we say is most important, because it's not the words that are coming out of our mouths, it's our feelings that are behind it in that space. So how do you really feel? Do you have time for silence in your life? And do you feel that silence? Because that's really important, because in that silence, and as Joe was talking about in the opening prayer, that is our authentic self, our higher self. And Zadkiel can help us find that. And sometimes when we get to that space, there are things, we've been hurt. There's things that have happened in our lives. And we feel that. And what we do is we put a lot of activity around us to block that. And sometimes people do it through, you know, alcohol or drugs or addictive things. Sometimes you can use food to push it down. And sometimes, you know, there are the people that'll go out and run and be able to work it out that way. But it's in that space that we want to address. We don't want to bypass it. It's really important. We want to master that silence. And once we can do that, and it's not always an easy process, but if we can move through that, then we're going to find that our life changes. The things that we want to change about ourselves start to happen. So if you need support for, you know, with an addiction, that's Archangel Zadkiel's the person, but also is a person for vocal cords. So I would think if Candida needed a little boost in her vocal cords, she could find it here. You know, what I recommend is this week is to spend a day listening to yourself. You're like, well, I do that every day, right? But listen to the quality of the words that you're saying. Really, you know, especially if you're out on the highway and it's a tough traffic day, listen to that. What is either coming out of your mouth or what's going through, what your process is? But what I'm really asking is, how do you feel? Are we acting in loving, non-judgmental ways? Or some of us maybe might, you know, on the highway not be so much sometimes. Hey, I'll admit it. And the thing that we have to remember about Zadkiel is it's about teaching and learning. It says, keep an open mind, learn new ideas, then teach these ideas to others. But really, Zadkiel's not just about in the voice. It's about what's in the silence. And remember with Zadkiel, and when we go back to this chart, the throat chakra is the water element. And what do we know about the water element? Well, if you remember, Khalil Gibran says, in one drop of water I found all the secrets of the oceans. In one drop of water, because ideas, everything spreads. But also, if you remember Dr. Emoto, by using our words in this, you see what happens. See what the quality of the words, compassion, thank you, wisdom. And then look at heavy metal music. I will kill you, you fool. Water before and after Buddhist prayer. So if we think that the quality of our words don't matter, just remember to look at this, because it absolutely matters. So what are we putting into our bodies with the power of these spoken words? Do we want to have a compassion or heavy metal music, right? A thank you or I will kill you. Hopefully nobody's saying that anytime right now, right? What's your quality? What do you want it to be? Even if it's not great right now, if you do your day say, wow, it's not so good. It's okay. It's just a place to start, right? Love thyself. Look at that beautiful crystal. Are you looking in the mirror and are you loving yourself? If you're not, I'm surprised because I look at each one of you and you're beautiful. Amazing. Magnificent. Essence of God. Spirit. So brave to come here, especially in this times when things are changing so much. Out there doing what you do. So love thyself. Put those beautiful crystals in your body. If you don't have a balanced chakra, when we look at our throat chakra, when you have a balanced one, you're going to speak your truth in all matters, divine truth. Great for singing and speeches. A person that has a balanced chakra is going to ask for what's needed from a place of self-love and worth. People that have a balanced throat chakra will use their words to love, to heal, to help, not hurt others. They have great self-worth and a lot of compassion for others. You hear creation speak to you. And that still small voice, you allow that space between the space so you can hear it in a really balanced way. So what happens if somebody, if we're looking at this chakra and it's not as balanced as it should be? And I am not throwing stones because this is my one chakra that I am going to be doing a lot of work on. That person you'll find meaningless and excess talking. They're going to always demand the last word. They cannot be silent. We do know people like that, don't we? A lot of times they'll have hyperthyroidism, or red, raw, inflamed in their throats. They have issues with that. This is usually a person who loves gossip, of defensive communication, intolerant or verbally abusive, critical, harsh, very harsh on others, or really harsh on themselves. If a person has too little on the chakra, they don't speak up for themselves. They keep silent to keep the peace. But the problem is they may feel resentful for that. At some point, that's going to come out. And that's going to come out either you're going to blow up, or it's going to come out in your body in certain ways. Dis-ease. It's going to come out. A lot of people that have this have hypothyroidism. They can't hear physically well, or in meditation, they have a hard time hearing their silent inner self. They have a real difficulty expressing themselves. And, you can ask Archangel Zadkiel to help with any one of these things if you need some balance. And sometimes people say, well, I have a little bit of both, overbalanced or underbalanced in it. It's totally normal. It's not all one or the other. And recommend, meditation for that. If you really love crystals like I do, the subiolite crystal is the crystal to get and use. I think it's beautiful. I figured Reverend Linda's going to love this. She loves purple. Is a really good crystal to use with this one. So with this one, yes, it's the throat chakra, and it's about speaking our words, but it's also about listening and being silent and really listening to how you feel in your body. Taking inventory of it, knowing that this needs to be balanced. So I'd like to invite you to join me in meditation and activation with this. Now, with our mics still muted, you can say this is from Simone Matthews, affirmation, Om, Omaron. I honor the divine love that exists within you, within me, and within all creation. We are all one. Just breathe that in. So we feel that energy, the higher self in every cell of our body. Milan Cohen, who works with the Cryon group, created these beautiful illustrations. My camera just didn't do the justice to this one, but we also have his pronunciation of the Hebrew words that go with this.
Layer 6. Eheye Asher Eheye. Eheye Asher Eheye.
And as we allow, we close our eyes, we're comfortable with that, and just allow every cell of your body as you breathe in to feel this energy, this divine word, all the gifts that Archangel Zadkiel brings to us. So we just breathe it in and let's set our intent, especially for this week and beyond. Our intent to open ourselves up, to balance this throat chakra, to allow the energy to flow through it. As we work within this water element, to just allow ourselves to observe and not judge our words, and to allow ourselves to release the things that don't serve us with this. So as we go in, we're going to take a moment now, and just as we go into this silence, which is not really silence, it's more of an inventory, and just observe as words come up that don't serve you, do not, no longer serve you. Just gently release, no ripping or tearing, we just allow it to leave. As it goes into the purple flames, we're going to transmute it back to love. As we go into the silence. As we allow the things to come into our awareness that may be upsetting us, and so that each one pops up, just gently release it. It doesn't serve your magnificence. Are there any thoughts that you have that really don't show your magnificence? Just release them very gently. Are there any thoughts about other people that you have that don't serve you? And gently release them. Any words that you have to go with it, you can release those too. Now, in your mind's eye, hold up a mirror and see what comes to mind. Those beautiful, loving words. And if they're not, release them. And now that mirror in our mind's eye turns into a water tank. And the water reflects your thoughts and your words. What does that water look like? Is it crystal clear? Beautiful? If it's not, just hold the prayer, seeing it in your mind's eye, in that prayer, beauty, magnificence, whatever that is. You see those, the water crystals turning beautiful. More beautiful than maybe any of the ones that you've seen. It's gorgeous. This is you. This is who you and what you really are. It's beautiful. Beautiful crystal. And as we breathe that in, we feel that layer 6 fully activated. The awareness is there and it doesn't go away at any time. Just broadens who and what you are. So we gently come back. We're not going to leave that because that's in you all the time. We never shut that down. You feel the throat chakra may feel a little thinner, better, maybe not red. We know, and Candida's is getting beautiful. They're getting ready for the next song. We're warming up. We give gratitude for Archangel Zadkiel. All the assistants. We're so grateful. Grateful to Cryon and Simone Matthews and to the Fillmores, who are way ahead of their time, teaching their wisdom, the wisdom that came from the inner self, higher self, to lessons from all the guides and masters, and to Jesus, our way shower. And as we take a moment now, we just hold prayer for those who need it. We had a lot of prayer requests come in during service. For all those prayer requests that are out there, if you're watching this at a later time, doesn't matter. There's no such thing as linear time. When it comes to this prayer field, we are praying. We are seeing it right. For those who have health challenges, we see every cell in your body working in perfect and divine order. We see prosperity in every area of your lives. And lives filled with, we know, that inner joy that comes from within us, which brings that profound peace. And we know at the end of the day, there's only one thing, and that's pure love. And that's where we operate from. And for this, we say thank you. And so it is. And as you open your eyes, our sacred geometry for the week is I am divine voice.